On October 3rd, Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon makes the following statement to Ashkenazi Jew Shimon Peres, as reported on Kol Yisrael radio.
Every time we do something, you tell me America will do this and do that. I want to tell you something very clear. Don't worry about America pressure on Israel. We, the Jewish people, control America, and Americans know it.
In 2002, Webster's Third New International Dictionary, unabridged, pre-printed in 2002, provides a new definition of anti-Semitism, which has not been updated since 1956. It reads, Anti-Semitism, 1. Hostility toward Jews and a religious or racially minority group, often accompanied by social, political, or economic discrimination. Opposition to Zionism, 2. And 3. Sympathy for the opponents of Israel. It was definition 2 and 3 that were added in the 2002 edition, just before the USA decides to invade Iraq under orders from the state of Rothschild, Israel. Also this year, the Prime Minister of Israel, war criminal Ariel Sharon, orders a massacre in the Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank. Best get that definition updated to protect these criminals. The DEA issues a report that Israeli spies posing as art students have been trying to penetrate U.S. government offices. Police near the Whidbey Island Naval Air Station in southern Washington state stop a suspicious truck and detain 2 Israelis, one of whom is illegally in the United States. The 2 men were driving at high speed in a Ryder rental truck, which they claimed had been used to deliver furniture. The next day, police discovered traces of TNT and RDX military-grade plastic explosives inside the passenger cabin and on the steering wheel of the vehicle. The FBI then announces that the tests that showed explosives were false positive by cigarette smoke, a claim a test expert says is ridiculous. Based on an alibi provided by a woman, the case is closed, and the Israelis are handed over to INS to be sent back to Israel. 1 week later, the woman who provided the alibi vanishes. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq on 19 March, which this year is the holy day of Purim in the Jewish calendar. This day of Purim is the day the Jews celebrate their victory over ancient Babylon, now based within the borders of Iraq. How interesting. What is also significant is that the previous U.S.-led invasion of Iraq ended on the day of Purim. 10 years earlier, with the slaughter of 150,000 fleeing Iraqis under the current president's father, George Herbert Walker Bush, Purim is also the time when the Jews are encouraged to get bloody revenge against their perceived enemies. Ancient Babylon, Iraq, is now one of 6 nations left in the world who don't have a Rothschild-controlled central bank. Make no mistake about it, this is a so-called benchmark which the puppet G.W. Bush references in his War on Arab speeches. This war is mainly about genocide of the entire Muslim world and is being fought with the blood of the American military, which the state of Rothschild, Israel, control. It is the most immoral, depraved act of horror being perpetrated to bring on World War III. Israel has always struggled for water. It had to steal the Golan Heights from Syria, which provided Israel with 1/3 of the fresh water 36 years before. Yet still in Israel, water extrication has surpassed replacement by 2.5 billion meters in the last 25 years. This means the water is far more precious to them than the oil reserves, which are the second largest reserves of oil on the planet. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad states in a speech, Jews rule the world by proxy. They get others to fight and die for them. The police chief of Cloudcroft stops a truck speeding through a school zone. The drivers turn out to be Israelis with expired passports claiming to be movers. The truck contains junk furniture and several boxes. The Israelis are handed over to immigration. The contents of the boxes are not revealed to the public. Israel deploys assassination squads into other countries, including the United States. The U.S. government does not protest. In 2004, 2 years into an investigation of IPAC's, the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, the largest political lobbyist group in the USA with over 65,000 members, whose only purpose is to use the USA for the purposes of Israel, possible role as a spy front for Israel, Ashkenazi Jew Larry Franklin, a mid-level Pentagon analyst, is observed by the FBI giving classified information to 2 officials of AIPAC suspected of being Israeli spies. Gee, thanks, Larry. AIPAC hires lawyer Nathan Lewin to handle their legal defense, the same lawyer who defended suspected Israeli spy Stephen Byron in 1978. Larry Franklin worked in the Pentagon Office of Special Plans run by Richard Perle, at the time Perle, who was caught giving classified information to Israel back in 1970. What was insisting that Iraq was crawling with weapons of mass destruction, requiring the United States to invade and conquer Iraq. Oh, what a bunch of pusillanimous pieces of work these two are, huh? There were no weapons of mass destruction, of course, and Perle was dumped the blame for the bad intelligence on George Tenet. But what is known is that the Pentagon Office of Special Plans was coordinating with a similar group in Israel in Ariel Sharon's office. With 2 suspected Israeli spies, at least inside the office from which the lies that launched the war in Iraq originated, it appears that the people of the United States are the victims of a deadly hoax. A hoax that started a war using the blood and money of American citizens for the purposes of Israeli oppression. The leaking of the investigation of AIPAC to the media on August 28, 2004, gave advance warning to other spies working with Franklin. The damage to the FBI's investigation was completed when United States Attorney General John Ashcroft ordered the FBI to stop all arrests in the case. What? Like the Stephen Bryan case and the hunt for Mega, this latest spy scandal seems destined by officials who have their own secret allegiances to protect, barring a massive public outcry. Police near the Nuclear Fuel Services plant in Tennessee stop a truck after a 3-mile chase, during which the driver throws a bottle containing a strange liquid from the cab. The drivers turn out to be Israeli using fake identifications. The FBI refuses to investigate, and the Israelis are released. 2 Israelis try to enter Kings Bay Naval Submarine Base, home to 8 Trident submarines. The truck tests positive for explosives. The National Director of the ADL, Abraham H. Foxman, publishes a book entitled Never Again, The Threat of the New Anti-Semitism, in which he states that the New Testament's lie that the ancient Pharisees were responsible for the death of Christ has been responsible for anti-Semitism throughout the millennium, and thus the New Testament of the Bible is hate speech and should be censored or banned. In 2005, on January 20th, President Bush makes the following statement as part of his second inaugural address. When our founding fathers declared a new order of the ages, this is not true. The founders did not declare a new order of the ages. President Roosevelt did when in 1933 he put its Latin translation Novus Ordo Seclorum on the dollar bill. On 7 July, the London Underground network is bombed. Israel's finance minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in London on the morning of the attacks in order to attend an economic conference in a hotel over the underground station where one of the blasts occurred, but stayed in his hotel room instead after he had been informed by Israeli intelligence officials attacks were expected. There are now only 5 nations in the world left without a Rothschild-controlled central bank: Iran, North Korea, Sudan, Cuba, and Libya.